Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing nutrition in regards to meal timing. So we've talked about in past podcasts, and actually in podcast number 41, you'll hear a whole podcast discussed about it, is that meal timing is one of the components of healthy eating. Whether it's healthy eating for weight gain, healthy eating for weight loss, fat loss, weight loss, whether it's performance, anything. So just eating healthy, eating to match our body's needs. We have components that we would want to address. The first most important one is calories, whether you're eating too little or too much. Then making sure you have enough protein. So they consider that macronutrient balance, is making sure you have enough protein for your carbs and fats. The third one is meal timing, which is what we're going to discuss today. And the fourth is macronutrient quality, which means, like, are you eating things that are, like white bread versus wheat bread, white rice versus brown rice, things that are organic or not. So kind of the quality of what it is that you're eating is the fourth most important. And fifth is kind of a catch-all. That's everything else. So supplements and whatnot. So we have had a past podcast about calories. So how many calories do I need? So let me look that up real quick, and I can get you which number that was. So that was 153. So podcast 153 covers how to know how many calories you should have. And then podcast number 33 covers how much protein do I need. So those will tell you what to do with the first two components, calories and kind of macronutrient balance, which is considered like basically getting enough protein into your diet. So then we've also recently just talked about the difference of whether you need carbs versus fat as your macronutrient balancing. So for example, I know I need to have enough protein, but then out of the remaining calories, should I focus on carbs or should I focus on fats? And we've talked a little bit about that in a very recent podcast, number 245, titled Macronutrient Balance Based on Body Type. And we just kind of discussed the difference, pros and cons of running your body based on carbohydrates or on fats. So that'll give you some background information. And now what we want to talk about today is one of the topics or concepts that I think is very important. Again, it's not more important than calories or protein content intake, but it is important, and it's something that everyone seems to screw up, and everyone can do better right now. So you don't even have to change what you're eating. You don't have to change the amount of it, like what you eat. So you can just do better timing, and you'll all of a sudden feel better. You'll look a little better, and you'll kind of perform better too throughout the day. So and in like any workouts or any activities you do. So meal timing is extremely important, and typically what most people do is they undereat when they're most active, and they overeat when they're less active. So that's tends to be what happens, is we undereat during the day, we overeat at night. And we do it for a lot of reasons. Typically we get up late, we're in a rush before work, so we don't make time to make breakfast. We're in a rush at work, so we don't make time for any kind of, little small snacks or anything here or there to fuel our body as we're using it. We try to get a quick lunch in, which sometimes people skip lunch, and then you wonder why you feel like shit in the middle of the afternoon, because you've given your body nothing. So you're running this machine of your body on absolutely no fuel, no care, no maintenance. And then all of a sudden it gets kind of grumpy. No shit. So then we try to make up for it at night. We get home, we're exhausted, we don't want to do anything. So we eat our dinner, we then sit on the couch, and within like 30 minutes to an hour, we're hungry again, and then we pig out on garbage stuff the rest of the night. That tends to be what most people do. That might be a little bit to the extreme, but that tends to be what most people do. So I met with somebody recently, and it was a lady who believed that she was eating healthy. And she had a lot of things right, but she still had this meal timing thing wrong, in the sense to where she was having a breakfast, she was having a lunch, and then she was having supper. But the problem was her breakfast was so small. She was really excited about what she was eating because she considered it to be super healthy. But whenever I asked her what it was and the amount she was having, we realized that she was barely having maybe 200, maybe 250 calories with her breakfast. And then her lunch, she was having various quote-unquote healthy variations of lunch, and they were maybe 400 to 500 calories. So by dinner, she was having maybe 700 to 800 calories total. And would be somebody who, is probably going to need 1,600 to 2,000 calories a day, and they're only at halfway through it at supper time. So then at supper, they have a little bit of a bigger meal because they had kind of family or, a friend with them or something like that. Then, of course, you got to have something that night, so they would have a glass of wine or a dessert or this or that. And very quickly, if you look at their calories throughout the day, so their meals. So for example, they would say, I eat pretty well. I eat a breakfast, I eat a lunch, I eat a supper. And then, I do snack at night. But I eat during the day. That's what they were telling themselves. But if you look at the calories, it was like 250 calories maybe for breakfast, maybe 500 calories for lunch, and then they were having like 1,200 calories in the evening, counting supper and that snack. And again, this is what most people do. We tend to run the machine of our body, okay? And the reason why I like using a machine is you have to fuel a machine, you have to maintenance a machine. Machine you have to pay attention to. If you just run it and never pay attention to it, it's not going to last very long, right? Well, our body's the same way. If we just abuse our body and we run, and we never feed it right, we don't take care of it, like food is fuel, but food is also medicine. Food is maintenance. And then also, like people who don't drink enough fluid throughout the day, our body gets dehydrated, that slows down and kind of like ruins the way the body runs, healthy and well. So it kind of slows everything down and bogs you down, and the digestion goes bad, our energy goes down, everything kind of like goes downgraded when we're dehydrated. So we do that to ourselves all day during the day. And then we wonder why we feel like crap, and we wonder why things tend to get worse during the week, and then we crash and burn on the weekends, and we don't seem to be very productive. And the reason why is because your body absolutely needs time to recover. If you're not giving it food, it'll force you to reduce your energy output, so you'll feel tired. It'll send you signals of being tired. And then also you are underfueled, so you are tired. Then any chance it gets to kind of sleep in on the weekend or to be lazy or to lounge on the couch, anything it can do to reduce energy output so it can have time to mend itself or not dig itself in a deeper hole, it'll always send those signals. So very often when I change people's food around, I've done this tons of times. If I had to take an estimate, I'd say it's at minimum over 100 times where I've worked with clients where I changed nothing about their caloric level. I let them maintain their current calories. I just changed the timing of their calories. They felt better throughout the day. They reported having lower water retention, therefore they looked leaner, and they just had overall better mood throughout the day. And they were like, man, this new diet is amazing. And I'm kind of laughing a little bit because I didn't really do much. I just rearranged their food. So I didn't even make them eat different food. I didn't make them change, their protein versus their carbs versus anything. No different calories. I just rearranged the order, rearranged the timing, and all of a sudden they felt amazed. And I'm happy they did, of course. But it's funny to me that it would be such a small, subtle change that can make such a big difference. And it's a small, subtle change that every single person can make on their own. You don't even have to pay me the money to do it. So, now you're welcome to if you want. So I will help you. But this is stuff you can do on your own. So, if we think of it, I want to kind of quickly go through why calories and protein matter a little bit more than the meal timing. So that way we understand that I am telling you that if you change meal timing, you will get a positive effect. Yes, that's true. Now, if you get that positive effect, you like that effect, and you want even more benefit, then you need to look at your calories and you need to look at your protein content as well. So we look at calories. If we have too few of calories, even if we time our calories perfectly throughout the day, okay, if we have too few of calories, our body still kind of just runs out of fuel. It runs out of energy. So if I were to, what would be perfectly timed? So if I say we have too few of calories, but they're perfectly timed, what is perfectly timed? Perfectly timed means I'm eating before I'm active, I'm eating during the time of me being active, and I'm eating immediately after being active. And then I kind of space my calories out the rest of the day. So let's say that you have a typical work day where somebody's kind of they wake up, their activity level builds throughout the day, kind of peaks in the middle of the day, and it drops back off towards the end of the day. So that's the way that most people's day runs. It's kind of like that bell curve kind of shape. So what you would want to do with your calories is you'd want to have some calories in the morning, more of your daily calories during the middle of the day, and then less calories in the evening. I'm just going to make up numbers for like the sake of this demonstration here. So let's say, for example, you're doing a breakfast, a little bit of a mid-morning snack, then you have a lunch, then you have a little bit of a mid-afternoon snack, and then you have a dinner. Well, those 3 meals in the middle of the day, they should make up the bulk of your calories. Okay? So I'm not really planning this out to have percentages and stuff, but if you think of it, the middle of our day is when we're most active, therefore I should have the most calories. So maybe that's when I would have, like, say, 70% of my calories. And then I'd have 15% at breakfast and 15% at the end of the day. Something like that. Or I might do, kind of a different breakdown that way. But your caloric intake should match the bell curve of your activity. So if I'm lower active in the morning, I have lower calorie meals in the morning. If I'm lower active late at night, then I have lower calorie meals late at night. So that's the kind of idea, is you want to match the caloric amount of your meals to the activity level of your day. When you're highly active, you can have high amount of calories. It's totally awesome. It's a good thing to do. You need to fuel your body, right? So that's the idea. So if you were to draw a line, kind of like, we said we have that bell curve kind of shape for activity. That's what your calories should look like. So if you look at the calories of your meals, they should almost follow that same pattern. Now let's say somebody works out in the morning. So you get up, you're highly active right away. You have a workout right in the morning, then you're kind of active during the day too, and then you really taper off at night because you don't have as much to do, and that's your downtime. You're getting tired now. So you kind of have a high start to the day for activity. It stays high throughout the middle of the day, then it drops off. Well, that's exactly the way your calories should look. Okay? Now, if you work out in the evening, maybe you have a low start to activity for the day. It kind of gets a decent amount in the middle of the day. You're pretty active. You're, up and moving, doing your work. But then all of a sudden you have this peak right after work where you go work out. So that's kind of like the biggest peak of the day is right then. And then all of a sudden after the workout, you go home, take a shower, go to bed, boom, done. So it just falls right off, right? Well, our calories should match that. We should have a little bit less calories in the beginning of the day, a little more calories in the middle of the day, a lot of calories around our workout, even right after a workout to help with repairs, but then nothing. So if I'm not going to be active anymore, I'm not going to eat anymore after that. So that's going to be the idea. So the best way, what is perfectly timed caloric intake, is that if you draw a line, like kind of showing the amount of calories you're eating per day, that curvature of your caloric intake should match the curvature of your activity. Okay? So that is what considered perfect time. It's a good meal timing. Now, if I have too few calories, even if I'm timing all that perfect, I still run out. I still don't have enough energy. It's still like if you don't put enough gas in a car. So I can put all the oil in the car. I can, make sure the tire pressure is great. I can make sure everything is running really smoothly in the car. But if I only fill up half a gas tank, I'm only going to get half the performance, half the distance, right? So the other thing is, if I have too many calories, even if I time them perfect, but I'm putting in way more than I need, then yes, I'm going to gain body fat. So timing your food perfectly doesn't escape body fat gain if you're overeating. So that's why calories are still most important, because even when you have them timed correctly, they still will dictate the overall result. You'll either still be kind of running low on energy, feeling kind of worn out, or you'll be overeating and gaining body fat. Now, what tends to happen for most people, the reason why I think it's important for us to understand the idea of meal timing, is most people, they kind of slightly undereat and slightly overeat consistently every day. So that's why we've kind of gained a little bit of weight over the time, like over the years, but we're not, we're not gaining like 10 pounds a month. You're not getting fat at that rate. So we kind of just collectively happens over time. And that means that for the most part, you're eating near where your calories need to be. So if you just better time them, all of a sudden you'll see, oh wow, I'm kind of holding steady now rather than gaining a few pounds a month. Or, holy crap, I actually lost a few pounds. So that can make a difference just to see how close you are. And then the reason why that matters, and the reason why we tend to gain body fat even though we're slightly undereating and slightly overeating. So if somebody says like, okay, well if my body needs 2,000 calories, what's the difference if I eat 2,000 calories just all at night versus spread out like you're saying throughout the day? The reason why it matters is because when you run your body at a deficit, so if I run my body at any point in time during the day where I'm asking it to do more than I have fueled it for, it creates stress to the body. The body can tell that it's being run underfed and underfueled. It doesn't like that. And no one would. Evolutionary wise, our body is designed to survive, right? So it would say, oh, this is not a good stimulus. This doesn't feel good. This runs us at risk of dying. So what happens then is when you follow that period of being underfed and overactive, you follow that by being overfed and underactive, so where you have too many calories. Your body says, well, I don't really need all of these calories now, but I did need those a couple hours ago. What happens if they do what they did a couple hours ago? What if they do that to me again? What if I have to run again in a deficit? Well, I better store up some of these extra calories to make sure that the next time we have a deficit, I don't get hurt from that. Because who knows how long the deficit's going to be next time. So what it does, it saves some of those extra calories as body fat. And then whenever you try to go to the next day, and you have this period of being overactive again versus underfed, your body says, well, you know what, I do have this extra stored body fat, and I could burn this, but again, that's going to leave me nothing. I'll be again left with, I don't have anything. So instead of me burning this body fat, I'll give up some, but hey, they're not using this muscle tissue, and muscle tissue burns calories. Muscle tissue requires our body to be active to maintain it. So if it says, well, they're not really using this muscle tissue very much, let's just take that off. Okay? And then also, hey, while they're being active, we can kind of pull back on other processes. So if I don't want to have to use as many calories as I am currently using right now, I'll just slow down the rate of their digestion. I'll slow down the rate of, repairing their muscles, repairing skin, hair, nails, kind of all the other processes of the body. The body just kind of lowers those down a little bit during the times when we're overfed and underactive. So that would be considered lowering its metabolism. So the body slows down how fast it runs to make sure it doesn't have to use up all that body fat again. And then again, we go that night, we overeat, it saves some of that. So that is why that even if you have periods of undereating and overeating, and it seems as though you're eating around the right calories, why do you still gain body fat? And that's because the body has a natural reaction to protect itself from the times when it's underfed. So it'll accumulate any excess calories as body fat, or at least store some of it as body fat. So that's why, even when we're eating relatively close to our calorie needs, we can still get fatter over time. Okay? So that's one of the big things to consider. So fixing meal timing, trying to get your curvature of your caloric intake to match the curvature of activity, is going to help a lot. And that's actually usually easier to do than to figure out how many calories you're having and then try to eat less. So people don't often want to try to do that. So an easier, simple-ish way of doing it is portion control. Where somebody would say is, okay, well, I don't need to know how many calories I'm having now. I know they're too many. Let me just eat slightly less at every meal. And that's one way that works. And then you time that again with meal timing, and all of a sudden, boom, you're going to get a big effect. That's going to work really well for you. Okay? So that's why calories are still important, but that's why we do gain body fat even if we're eating at what seems like correct calories, but our meal timing is way off. Now, what do we do with protein? So if we have too little of protein, even if we have the right amount of calories, and even if our meal timing is correct, if we have too little of protein, protein is what repairs and restores our body. So it's what fixes and builds new muscle. It's what helps heal our joints. Like I said, it grows our skin, our hair, our nails. It regulates body temperature, pH balance of the blood. It does a whole bunch of stuff. So what happens is, if we have the right amount of calories and we have good meal timing, we will be able to kind of control body fat formation. We'll be able to control our body weight, but over time we'll slowly not feel very well. So because we'll have no recovery from stress to our muscles and joints, our joints will start to hurt, we'll notice our muscle mass will start to decrease. And muscle mass requires calories to stay alive. So when you lose muscle mass, you actually lose metabolism. What that means is that the same amount of calories that you used to be able to eat and stay at your same weight, all of a sudden now you're getting fatter at that same calorie level. Why is that? The reason why is because you've lost muscle tissue. And muscle tissue used to burn up some of those calories. And now that it's not, the diet that used to be right, the calorie level that used to be right, is now too many calories. So when you have insufficient protein, your body's amount of calories it burns every day will actually go less and less and less. And therefore, if you have a set number of calories that just stays there, eventually it becomes too much because your maintenance level got lower and lower and lower. So let's say you were eating 2,000 calories, your body was burning 2,000 calories. You lost a little bit of muscle, now the body's only burning 1,900. Well, now you have 100 extra calories every day because you're still eating 2,000, but the body's only burning 1,900. Now that 100 calories is excess, and some of it gets stored as body fat. Now all of a sudden your body loses more muscle, it drops to 1,800 calories. You're still eating 2,000, so now there's a 200 calorie difference. And again, some of that excess gets stored as body fat. So that's why if somebody has correct calories, they have correct meal timing, but they have too little protein, that can be why that they'll actually get fatter over time, and why they kind of feel achy joints, they don't feel very strong, they don't look as good because their muscle mass is going down, and your body fat levels will go up at the exact same body weight. So you won't have gained weight, but you will look fatter, and it's because you are fatter. You have less muscle and more fat now at that same weight. So that's why it's important to monitor all of the components. So you have to monitor calories, you have to monitor protein, and now meal timing. So that's what I wanted to make this podcast about, was to explain why meal timing was important, but I also wanted to explain that it's not more important than calories or protein. Those two are still most important, and they need to be accounted for. Okay? So that was basically the idea of this podcast, was to raise your awareness of what the benefits or the effect of meal timing is, but then also to let you know that you still have to pay attention to calories and protein. Okay? So the best way for you to match your meal timing is to eat before you're active. So don't skip breakfast and then start being really active at work. You're running your body on nothing. Okay? And don't go into the gym and do a workout with no food. So if you do a fasted workout, you will feel like shit, you will look like shit, and you will perform like shit. So you might be able to take enough caffeine to mask it for, a couple weeks or a month or so. Eventually your caffeine tolerance will jack up. You won't be able to get the same effect from it anymore. You'll feel awful, and you'll wonder why nothing is working. Okay? So you can find that out in a month from now, or you can just fix it today. So that's the idea. So eat before you're active. And then when you can, eat during your activity. So if you're going to have breakfast before work, make sure you have your lunch at work. Okay? So if you have a job where you don't get to eat for 8 hours, quit that job. Because otherwise you're going to die anyhow. So whatever money you're making from that job, you're not going to get to save any of it. You're not going to save it, but you're not going to get to use any of it. Because you won't be around for very long. Okay? So I have worked with people in every profession you can think of. And we have found ways to get them food in their face. Now, if you're listening to this and you think you are so special, and that you are the most specialist person at your job, and they can't afford to give you 5 minutes to eat, okay, send me an email at brutalironjim@gmail.com, and I'll help you figure out times to eat. I promise there is a way. Everybody else on the planet has figured out how to do it. Okay? I'm sure you can figure it out too. So then you want to be eating after your activity. So especially workouts. So if we've gone into the gym, we've beat up our muscle tissue, or we've used up a lot of fuel, we have to restore that fuel. Give our body a chance to recover, give our body a chance to repair itself from that activity. So that's the idea. That's how you can best match your meal timing to your activity levels, is to eat before you're active, eat during you're active, and eat right after you're active. And then at times where you're not active, eat a lot less. So eat less frequently and eat lower amount of calories. Okay? So that's the idea. This is pretty general, but hopefully it gave you something to think of. Okay? But that's the idea, is we want to best match our caloric intake to our caloric expenditure. If you do that, you're going to feel better, you're going to look better, you're going to perform better, everything's just going to go better in your life. Okay? Now, like I said, if you have trouble figuring out how to do this to your activity level, you're a nurse, teacher, cop, I've worked with people who had to pack things on, big rigs at night, and they were like busy. So I've worked with people of every profession you can think of. So just shoot me an email, and I'll help you figure out a time, okay? brutalironjim@gmail.com. Send me what your schedule is. Send me what your concerns are, what your worries are, and I'll help you figure it out. Okay? Cool. So hopefully this was good kind of food for thought, gave you something to think of, and maybe something you can start to kind of put into practice. Okay? So take the calories you're already eating, put them better matched to your activity level. That'll make you feel better right away. And then start paying attention to your calorie intake and your protein intake. Cool. Okay. So if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Brutal Iron Gym. Also, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. So the more people we help, the happier the world will be. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we would love, love, love to hear from you. So the podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. Okay? And you can reach us at our email at brutaliron@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening.